Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on the classic film Now Voyager, which released in 1942, and of course starred silver screen icon Bette Davis, and was directed by Irving Rapper, who he and Davis would go on to collaborate on a few films together. She'd even do like a special, like small little cameo for him in a movie she didn't star in, just as a favor. And me talking about Bette Davis verbally is a pretty big deal, because for the longest while I've written a lot of like letterboxd reviews, written reviews on both her and like Barbara Stanwyck, who I've grown to love as well. But I've meant to talk about it more verbally, and so part of me, I'm not going to be able to convey everything properly, but Bette Davis I've gotten to truly love as a performer, and, different things about her I've researched regarding her as a person, and Now Voyager is a truly excellent film in my opinion. It chronicles her in a couple of different stages of her life, from living under the thumb of like the domineering mother, played by Gladys Cooper, and just very much, again, living under her thumb and by her very particular, rules for how she conducts herself in her life and how she dresses, and ignoring, like, the issues she's having, and basically implementing her own trauma onto, Bette Davis, who is her daughter, and giving her trauma in return. And then you have Davis, who eventually, has, some therapy work, and what was refreshing about that aspect is that therapist, played by Claude Rains, takes her side and has like is able to actually listen to Davis's, Charlotte, and actually points to the mother, for being responsible for a lot of, Charlotte's issues. And I thought that was a really, kind of mature, ahead of its time dynamic and relationship and sort of perspective on things, for a 1942 film. And she becomes kind of more of herself, comes into more of her own as the movie goes. Of course, there is a portion of the movie on the ship. She becomes a, pretty highly regarded, socialite, per se. And the thing is, you see her sort of be the antithesis of what the perception of Bette Davis was in film, her star and everything. She even has like these, thicker eyebrows they have her wear, and kind of dressing down and just very, very blandly. Davis, by the way, had a hand in, picking out a lot of her outfits on, both ends of the movie, which is pretty nice. But then as she kind of is able to come more out of her shell and out of her mother's shadow, she becomes more of the Bette Davis that everyone knows and, loved and still loves, like I do. And I thought that was made for one of Bette Davis's greatest movies and greatest roles. For me, it's right there with movies like Dark Victory and Dangerous, as well as like The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex. I could go on and on. Marked Woman I liked a lot as well, and there's still many I have yet to see. I do plan on getting the Criterion set of this one, which you can see to the left right here, which is pretty nice. But for now, I do have it in a box set, which is also not too shabby. I like this quite a bit. It comes with a few of her films. So just, it's the regular DVD, mind you, but no real complaints either. Physical media, man. It's the way to go. But Now Voyager, I just thought was an excellent film. The relationship that she develops with Paul Henrid, and him being married and sort of in his own dysfunctional relationship as well with his wife. I thought could have been somewhat of a drag. I was worried, there's such a good story here already with Charlotte and her mother. We don't need like another forced romance just because that had to be in every movie from back then. But this was actually one of the sincerely good ones. I like their chemistry together, and I got somewhat endeared to their connection, the good and bad of it and such. And I thought, again, it was handled maturely and ahead of its time. Maybe one of my favorite parts of the movie, besides the mother issue, was the dynamic Charlotte later develops with the other young girl that sort of mirrors kind of what she went through when she was younger. And I thought that was really sweet and kind of made the third leg of the movie all the more memorable. Before not on the moon, but why would he go for the moon when we have the stars? I'm butchering the line, but the ending is just really, sweet and earned as well. I'm going all over the place, I realize that. But I knew I was not going to be able to convey everything properly, so I just wanted to ramble a bit about how much I generally love Bette Davis, and now Voyager, I think, is some of her best work I've seen. Just so many iconic looks, and the performances were so on point, especially from Davis, but as well as the supporting cast. It's pretty close to a 5 out of 5 movie for me, man, I won't lie. It's really, really gradually paced, and I think it moves on just as it should. But yeah, by all means, tell me how you thought about this. Where does this rank in your Bette Davis films, or just kind of classic cinema in general? But yeah, follow me on TikTok, of course, Instagram, Twitter. Later.